All right, we're back on the 8th episode of the John Gill podcast show. Super excited to have my best friend here, Elly Lefort. He is a French Olympian trainer. He was at the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics, and just super excited to have him here with us today in the studio. So again, as always, ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause. There's going to be some background music there, right? For like people applauding. No, just messing, man. But anyway, thanks, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. It's always a pleasure, to share my stories that can help or inspire like other people. So
Sure.
Thank you for inviting me today. Always a pleasure to be with you, like share some story and have a good time.
There it is. Well, on that note, why don't we have a quick cheers to the podcast? Here it is. Awesome.
Cheers.
There it is. All right. So, Mr. Lefort, tell us a little bit about your background, your history, and everything that led you to get to the top of the peak of where any athlete in the world would want to compete at the Olympic level.
Yeah, so I hope like that everybody's gonna understand with my French accent. I'm gonna try my best to be as clear as possible and not repeat myself. But
That's perfect.
So basically, I started when I was really young, and I got into a track and field, and it became really quickly like a passion for me, just to push myself a little further and further all the time. And in track and field, it's a really hard sport because you're by yourself, and basically like you cannot blame anybody else. So, and you always have like a time, a clock, or like a measurement. So it's like you cannot like blame like a teammate or something.
Sure.
So this was really like hard sport, but I think it was a really, really good school for life, like about rules, competition, and hard work. So I started, I think, like around like 11 years old or 12 years old in track and field. And pretty quickly, I reached the national level. And
So you had it in you from a very early age.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all started like at home, like with some of those movies, like Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3.
Oh yeah.
Those make me like really hyped up, and like I would like literally like train in my bedroom or like punch the bag in my attic. It's like that like really like motivate me because that was inspiring for me. So it's I have to give credit to like those movies that inspire me, those music. And yeah, like pretty quickly, like I ended up being like on the national level on track and field. I started with a combined event like decathlon. So basically, like if nobody knows what decathlon is, it's 10 events, 10 events in like 2 days.
Wow.
So it's like you start with 100 meters,
hardcore.
then long jump, then shot put, pole vault. Like hurdles, you have everything. So you have to be like really complete athlete. And I think by the age of like 15, 16, I was like top 5 in the country.
Wow, that's very impressive. That's amazing.
So I started with track and field, and obviously, I grew up in France. And in France, it's like we have a different mentality about sports. Sport is more considered like a hobby. It's not the same as USA, where it's more like, you go to college, you can have like a scholarship, and like you can go to a football team or baseball team or whatever. It's more like on the side of the school. It's like you have to join a club or something. That's something independent. It's more
see.
Yeah, it's more like considered a hobby,
see.
You go after school. That's the difference between France and USA. So after that, it's I was in school to get my diploma and everything. And it took a lot of time, so I had to slow it down a little with sports and focus on like 1 or 2 events instead of like 10. So I picked up 100 meters, so like it was sprint and throwing discus. So I focused more on that, and I keep still like pretty good training. It was about like 2-3 hours a day. And I was in top three in my country in France in those events, and that was for like the track and field part.
Oh my God. Impressive.
So, so a lot of people say, okay, so how did you become an Olympian? So that's thanks to my trainer back in the days. After a competition, it was the national in France. I was done with my competition, so it was more like a relaxing time.
Okay.
So we were hanging out with my coach at the bar, having a beer. It's the end of the season. You want to like cool down and enjoy the moment, and everything good happen around the drink. So we're having a good talk, and like all of a sudden he's like, hey, I see one of my friends over there, like I'm gonna say hi, I haven't seen him for a couple of years, So I'm like, hey, go ahead. And couple minutes later, he waved me over and he's like, hey, Elly, come by here. And he introduced me to that guy, and that guy happens to be the physical coach of the Monaco bobsled team.
Wow, so that was your introduction to
absolutely
anyone in the Olympic level at that point in time.
Well, the funny thing is, at that time, I had no clue what bobsledding was. I haven't seen the movie Cool Running.
Cool Runnings,
so I had no clue. So he's like, oh yeah, he works for the Monaco bobsled team, and the guy start to ask me questions. What's your height? What's your speed? How far do you jump? What's your body weight? I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, oh, would you be interested to to have some physical tests for the Monaco bobsled team? I'm like, sure, why not? Yeah, it's when there's like an opportunity, you always say yes. And
that is crazy.
Then you figure out later.
Yeah, of course.
So I say yes. I went back home and I started Googling bobsledding, and I was like, oh my God, what is that? What I put myself into. And a couple of months later, he's like, he came back and I did some physical tests in my own town, and which was pretty successful according to him. And he's like, okay, maybe you can join us in Italy and maybe do the training camp with us. And if you're good enough, maybe you can stay with us for the training camp. But if you're not good on ice, because of course bobsledding you have to push on ice. He's like, well, you're gonna just go back home. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So I went to Italy. I did more tests for the team, and that was pretty successful as well. So that was really exciting.
What's going through your mind at that moment? Because you're like, there might be an actual opportunity here that I could potentially go to the Olympics or be part of a professional team here.
Well, honestly, at this time, I didn't really have like anything in mind. I was just like, I think I was 20 years old at that time. So I was just embracing the opportunity and just traveling and meeting new people. I hadn't really had an agenda at that time.
Okay.
I was pretty young, like 20 years old, and I was dedicated. I was hardworking and I went to Italy. I was really grateful that they invited me, and I did my best, and apparently I did pretty good. And they're like, okay, we want you to continue with us. So at that time, they're like, okay, we cannot give you any money or any contract, but what we can propose to you, it's you're going to travel with the young team and travel around the world and discover new tracks and learn the sport. And I was like, I think that was in 2009. So at that time in France, it was just after, the crash and the crisis everywhere in the world. So even with my diploma, it was not a lot of work in France. So I was like, I don't really have any plans, so why not? Okay, I'm 20 years old. I have an opportunity to travel around the world and learn something different. So I'm like,
of a lifetime.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So a couple of weeks later, I got in my mail my flight tickets for Vancouver, Whistler, which happened to be the 2010 Olympic Games. And I was like, I called him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Why I'm going to Vancouver? He's like, oh, a change of plan. Somebody got injured in the World Cup team, which is the highest level you can reach in the world in bobsleigh. It's somebody got injured in the World Cup team. So we need a spare guy just for the training. And you're going to be the spare guy. I'm like, okay. So, I don't know. like a sign or something. So I'm saying, okay, let's do it. Let's go. So that was the year 2009, 2010, and I did the best I could like whole year just to show them like how hardworking I was and like professional. And the end of the year, it was the 2010 Olympic Games. They were really happy with me. They wanted me to continue with them. And that's how I got my first contract as a professional athlete the next year. They're like, okay, we want you to move to Monaco, get you a contract, and we want you to be serious with that for the next years. So that's how I started with the Monaco bobsled team.
I was going to say, so the first team was the Monaco bobsled team. What a crazy turn of events that changed your life and the trajectory of your life forever. Meeting the person at the bar, then, this guy got sick. I mean, sometimes you just take the opportunity that's handed to you and run with it and give your best, and it worked out. So tell us more about the Monaco team.
Well, that was amazing. So you have to realize I come in a town in France that's by the ocean. I'm like literally 5 minutes away from the Atlantic Ocean.
What's the town called?
It's called Saint-Nazaire. That's where I'm born and raised.
Nazaire.
Saint-Nazaire. Yeah. We build big ships over there, big boats.
Apparently, look at this guy. I mean, he's massive.
I actually participate in building some of them. So
all right.
in my youth. So I come from this town like with like ocean and no mountain and the beach, and all of a sudden like I end up like doing in a bobsleigh team from Monaco. And I don't know if you guys know Monaco, but this is like a principality with a prince and now a princess on the French Riviera. So this is like Mediterranean Sea and like warm weather all year long, yachts. And actually Grace Kelly was, the wife of the previous prince.
Wow.
So I end up in Monaco and with all this luxury, like cars and apartment and beach. And I was like, wow, this is my life now. And it happens to be that the Prince Albert was an Olympian for Monaco. He did 3 Olympic Games with bobsledding for Monaco. And he was the actual president of the Monaco bobsleigh team. So I got introduced to him and like we became friends. And got invited to his house and to the Prince Albert of Monaco. So that was like, you have to realize I was 21 years old. I was traveling around the world, living my dream, as my sports, and meeting those amazing people that I would never have imagined. That was like life-changing for me.
I can imagine.
So I did that for about 4 years. And that was the dream life. I was living on the French Riviera, meet a lot of like celebrities, famous people, like, but still, keep training hard because that's why my
that's
job
why you're
was.
there, yeah.
And then after, like, came the year 2014 for the next Olympic game. And I had...
This is the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympic.
So I had a dilemma. I'm like, okay, I'm French, but I'm not from Monaco, so... The only way I can do the Olympic Games is to go with the French team or to get like the citizenship with Monaco, which was a big gamble. So with the French team, let's say it was like a really, really hard way to go. But I was already French, so that was like the good part of it. But like training-wise and money-wise, that was the hard road. With Monaco, it was the opposite. It's like the citizenship was the hard road, but the training and the finance and everything was the easy part. So I ended up to have to make a decision, and I decided to go with my country, France, and went to the hard road. So that was one of the most like difficult year of my life. So as I said before, like. In France, sport is considered as a hobby. So for 6 months, I was working in a factory from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I was going to train after that every day by myself. I didn't have my teammates with me. I didn't have any coach. I just had like a plan that I have to follow like remotely. But I was basically working a full-time job, like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, and I had to go to the stadium to train every day after that because you have to compete with the best people in the world, and like most of country like Germany, Italy, America, Russia,
Yeah.
they're all full-time athletes. So it's like I had no choice but to push it hard. So after 6 months of that,
Takes a lot of discipline, a lot of consistency, and just
yeah, absolutely. It was like, sometime like I was in the stadium and like it was raining and it was like it was nighttime, and like I was like, what I am doing here? Like all my friends was out there partying, drinking, invited me to some event. It was like, I cannot forget the big picture, which the Olympic Games, which has been a dream of mine for like forever as a kid.
of course.
So you have to keep the big picture in mind, and after 6 months of training and working, the season began, and that was a tough time, and I had to go with unemployment. That's how it works in France. So I had to basically like take off like 6 months of work with unemployment, and go with the French team. So that was a really tough season. We had to stay in the cheapest hotel everywhere we go. We had to like do everything ourselves. We didn't have any like
what a change of atmosphere from hanging out with the prince and everyone, and all that life of luxury, then to switch gears real quick and then just
that was like day and night.
Day and night, yeah.
I had everything. Like in Monaco, I had a physical coach, I had a head coach, I had a physiotherapist 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
We had everything. In the France team, we had to do everything ourselves. So that was a big jump. That was really hard, but I think that was good too. A good wake up call to say, it's the Olympic Games, and you have to push it out. You have to earn it. So it was really hard here. At the end of the year, I had to do like 2 or 3 times like intern like selection test for the French team, because we had like more like athlete than position for the Olympic Games. Only 4 spots for the Olympic Games. So I had to compete with my teammates. That was like intern like competition, which I made it to the team. So that was a really tough year for me. And after all the struggle, we actually qualified for the Olympic Games, even like with all the struggle we had and like the little money we had, because that's a really expensive sport. Like, just to give you an idea, like a bobsled cost around like $60,000.
Wow.
So it's really expensive. So after that, we qualified, and I achieved my dream, and I did the Olympic Games for the France.
That's amazing. I remember here in Chicago, we set up a nice party. I had my wife and my girls were there. We had everyone. I think there, it was a full packed house. We were all cheering you on. We made like little French flags. I mean, we're not French, but we were rooting you on, and just seeing you on TV, I was like, I didn't know you at the time, but that was the first kind of time, real time that I saw Elly on the screen, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. But yeah, we cheered you on, and I was like, man, that's impressive. That's super impressive just to see you from there. And then actually meeting you in person, from the TV to the person. I mean, that was just that was amazing, and you guys did very well. I mean, from the results, I know that as a new team, you want to talk about some of the where you ended up in the overall position, and there was some and how the Russian doping scandal has played into some of those results.
Yeah, so for us, like the goal of the year was to qualify for an Olympic Games. That was like our main goal, because we knew that we had like we didn't have all the chances on our side because of like the material or like just the staff. We had to do everything ourselves, which is really tiring as an athlete. When other country, like they have everything, like the equipment, the staff. They can rest, they have physiotherapy. It's way better. So for us, the main goal was just to qualify to an Olympic Games. Once we qualify, we're like, okay, we're not, just gonna like rest and and enjoy. We're gonna compete. We're gonna try our best because we gave so much sweat and blood and tears that like we have to show the world that even with like the minimum, you can still like be on the top. So we gave everything we had. It was tough. We ended up to be like 17.
17 out of 70 is what I read, and that was actually just an impressive statistic given the limitations that the team had.
Just to give you an idea, we were the only amateur team on the circuit. All the other team, like it was professional. The Italian team, they have a Ferrari bobsleigh.
Ferrari.
The German team has a BMW. The British team, they have a McLaren bobsledding. We had just some...
Monaco has the Prince.
Exactly. It's like, and we, France, we had like something that we put together, and after each run, we had, to take like a screwdriver and like make sure everything was tight, and like the paint was not falling off, stuff like that. So it was like, we were mechanic, we were physiotherapists, we were everything. We had like all the hat, we had to do everything ourselves. So, and we are like amateurs. I mean, like amateurs in a way that like we're not paid to do that. Like
sure.
Most of people, they have like, that's a full time.
Sure.
They wake up, they eat, they train, and they rest. For us, it was different. So it was great for us. Like we finished like 17 ahead of like so many other teams that were professional. And a few years later, after, they find out that like the Russian, like, had like some system going on with
doping.
The doping. So they actually won the gold medal at that time, but like it got removed because they were like doping at that time. So we ended up actually winning 2 places at the Olympic Games. So we finished actually 15.
15 out of 70.
Yeah, so that was really good for us. Like
super impressive.
A lot of people ask me like, "Hey, did you win a gold medal?" I'm like, "Hey, in a way, yes, that was my gold medal." So that was a big part of my life. I think at that time I was 25 years old, 24, 25 years old. And if you would have told me when I was like 17, 18 years old that I would travel around the world, meet all those like people and like do the Olympic Games, I would never have believed you. Never, ever. So my point is like, if an opportunity come up to you, just say yes and then think about it later.
That's amazing. I mean, what a badge of honor to have competed at the highest level. And, I know you've got some Olympic tattoos here that, somewhere to represent, your success, right? It's kind of like an Olympian, everyone that... Oh, go ahead.
No, it's kind of a tradition.
It's a tradition, right?
Like, yeah, it's like everybody as an athlete, you can do like European Championship, World Cup. It's like, but like everybody going for the Olympic Games. Why? Because Olympic Games is every 4 years. So I would say like a prime time of an athlete, it's between 20 years old to 30 years old, right? So that's about 2 Olympic Games right there. So basically, your chances to go to an Olympic Games in your life are really thin because everything can happen on the road. You can get injured, you can get sick, you can
the cards are stacked against you.
Yeah, it's like you can be in bad shape. You can have, I don't know, like life happens. So it's like in a life of an athlete, Olympic Games, it's really hard. It's like it's an event that happens every 4 years, and everybody's looking forward. But it's really special. It's really special. So for me to reach that event, that was a dream.
We want to take a quick intermission and just thank our partners, Element Studios. That's EL3, MENT Studios.com. Go ahead and check out their Instagram page as well at Element Studios. They're a full-service media production company. So go ahead and check them out. They do great media work. And we're back from the intermission. Elly, when we left off, you were saying some great things about the struggle, about, just being at the highest level. After that, after competing, you came to America, in the U.S., and I always tell everyone, I'm like, if you meet Elly, he is probably the most American guy you're gonna come across. Like, no joke, it's hilarious, but it's awesome. He's got the Harley Davidson. He's got the Ford Mustang. He has cowboy boots. I think a cowboy belt, and he loves to sing Elvis. So if that's not American, I don't know what is. So Elly, tell us about your dream to come to America and just your consistency at every dream that you've so far set for yourself having accomplished. Tell us about all of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sing today. So,
Come on.
Yeah, that's gonna be after, maybe tonight.
We'll put a link to his YouTube video where he sings Elvis.
Karaoke.
Karaoke?
Yeah. That's like bonus.
Yeah.
It's all in the bonus. No, it's like after the Olympic game, it's like it's another world. It's like you have to imagine like you're on the top of the world with like the top of the athlete in the world. You have been treated like a half god. Like when you're in the Olympics, like people treat you like a half god. You're on a cloud. You're on a cloud for weeks. Then
and you were being interviewed, I remember, by the French TV, French media outlets.
I came back to France. I was the first Winter Olympian in my city. So I came back in town. I was like, my mom showed me like all the like newspaper and TVs and I was like, wow, I was like, people recognize me in the supermarket and like kids and like that was amazing. It's like you're on a cloud for like another 3-4 months after the Olympic Games, which you have to embrace because this is like a lifetime experience. That was amazing for me. And after that, you have to bounce right away. You have to do something because actually a lot of people after Olympic Games, athletes, they go into depression because you're so much on the cloud that it's like you feel great. You know, prime of your age and prime of your performance, and like everybody loves you, everybody wants autograph. But at one point, this slowed down. So it's like you have to do something to react. Otherwise, it's like a lot of athletes like go into depression, like start drinking or have drugs or like gain weight. It's like you have to do something. So that's when I started my business into like health and sports. I wanted to give back. You know, like people have been so good to me, and I felt I had so many good opportunities that I was like, okay, I want to give back to the people because, you know, it's like that's what I wanted to do. I was so grateful for everything I had that like I wanted to give back. So I started like my own business in health, nutrition, and sports in France, which was like amazing. I was really successful, and then I married your cousin.
Yeah,
that was living in Chicago here, and we decided that it would be easier for me to move to USA. So after like I think like one year, after the Olympic Games, I moved to Chicago, and that was a big like culture change. I was always expect like, okay, America is kind of the same as Europe. It was not. That was like a totally different culture, which I had to adapt.
Well, in what way? Because I'm kind of curious to hear that.
Well, it's, you think like, we have the same store, we have the same shops, we have the same people, but no, actually the culture is really different, like into sports,
food,
like business, food, everything. I was like, it took me a while to adapt to the culture, but what I've been taught in sports and that now I apply in my life, it's always like, you have to adapt to everything. You have to adapt and embrace everything you have, and like that's all you have to do. So I was like, okay, my English was not perfect at that time, and I had a lot of struggle, and it was a new city, it was a big city, it was a little overwhelming. It was a new life. It was not easy, but you always have two ways to go. Either you like, oh, it's too hard and you give up, or you just like, you know what, I'm gonna adapt, I'm gonna push it, and I'm gonna go through. And that's the way I adopted.
Amazing.
Yeah. So after that, in Chicago, new life, new everything. I was like, okay, let's go, let's do something. So I started this job as a personal trainer in export. It was a tough time because my English was not great. Nobody really helped me out. in a way of like as a training or something. And I was like, okay, you know what? It's okay. I've been on my own before. I can handle that. Actually, that was a booster for me. It like helped me, like encourage me. It was a motivation. It's like, okay, like in France, I was a little, like star in my hometown. But in USA, it's like nobody really cared. I was like, okay, yeah, why? Okay. But like I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna show them. I'm not just like, like any like personal trainer. Like I really care about you. So that's what I did. And within 3 months in my gym, I was the number one personal trainer in that gym. That was a really big gym. So it was just like a lot of work. Like
It's amazing.
Like people who told me, hey, just go home and like chill if you don't have any clients. I'm like, that's not the way to think. It's like, I want to help more people out. You have to give first and then take back. So after 3 months of that, even with my poor English, I would like give phone calls and appointments and try hard and hard and hard. And within 3 months, I was number one. And within 6 months, I was number 3 in the whole company.
Wow.
As a French guy.
As a French guy with all into a new country, a new city, a new state, and then, as you said, with the limitation with the English, that's super impressive. And I think that has to do a lot with that athletic mindset that you carry with you. And you've seen a lot, and I've personally seen a lot of your clients who have changed. When I was training you at the time, I remember I was about 175. I went down to like 154, which is perfect for my height. At the time, I was probably the best I'd ever seen myself ever. And it's crazy how when you arrived, you just impacted so many lives. My attorney also trains. I know you've got a huge book of business, and I've seen how they physically have changed and the effect that physical change has had on their behavior and on their life.
Absolutely. So when I see somebody, I see a potential. Okay, so a potential is good, but that's not enough. You have to put the hard work. A lot of people tell me like, oh, you've been lucky, you've traveled, you've met those people, you're so lucky. I'm like, hey, that's true. In a way, I'm lucky. Yeah, I'm really grateful. But on the other hand, when like all my friends were partying, drinking, having fun, I was by myself under the rain training. So it's like, obviously you have a part of like luck and opportunity, but it's also hard work and dedication. It's a mindset. So when I see somebody, I can see a potential. That's what I saw in you. I was like, oh my God, you have a great potential. Now the deal is like,
get back on.
You're going to train 5 times a week with me. Yeah. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to be in the best shape of your life. You know what? I know it. I can see it. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what I see. That's what I'm good at. And it happened. And that's how I work with people. It's like I care about them. And like nothing is easy. If somebody tells you something is easy, it's a lie. It's like nothing is easy. But like with hard work, a good mindset and dedication, things happen.
And one thing I like though about you too is you see the potential, but you also want to take on people who are serious about their change. You just don't take anyone who wants to work with you. And I've seen you turn down a few people just because they didn't have that commitment, and I think that's what sets you apart from just any trainer who's trying to take any client. You have a very thorough process to say, you know what, if you're really going to change, I'm going to make you change, but you have to want it.
Absolutely. It's a contract, If somebody comes to me and say, hey, I want to train. Okay, why? Why you want to train? It's like, it's a big question. And it's a contract. It's like, me, it's like, I want everybody to win. Okay, I want you to reach your goals. Okay, if you win, I'm going to be happy. It's a win-win. Okay, so now if you're half committed, I know you're not going to show up to the gym. You're not going to follow your diet. You're not going to follow your homework. And after a few months, you're going to be, hey, you know what? I'm not happy with my result. I'm saying, yeah, but I don't want that, because if you're not happy, I'm not happy. Nobody wins. It's a waste of time, waste of money. But if I see you ready, then I say, okay, you know what? It's a contract, okay? It's not going to be easy, but if you stick to it, you're gonna have result, and that's
Absolutely.
what I want. And
Absolutely.
everybody's gonna notice it in your physics, in your mind. That's what matter. That's why it's like I think it's a contract between both parties. That's what matter.
Awesome. Well, Elly, before we sign off, I just want to say thank you, but I want you to leave another important message to anyone who's listening that maybe wants to go on to the Olympics, or just any sort of advice that you can leave with the audience. You've given so much great advice here today, which is just your story of sacrifice, hard work, grit, determination. But what's one last message that you can leave with the audience?
Well, I would say it's you have to forget about like when you see someone like successful, it always seems like so easy. It's like, wow, like this guy is driving that car, this guy's on TV because he's so famous in this movie. It's like nothing is given to you. You have to earn it. It's all the work you do in the shade, nobody see that put in your spotlight. It's I think that's what everybody has to understand, like especially the new generation. It's like everybody wants to be famous, everybody wants to be like like a celebrity, but it's like it takes a lot of work, and most of the time you don't see that work. You just see like people on the top, but you don't see like what they've done before. It's like the iceberg illusion. So yeah, if you want really something bad, it's like just give it a lot of work, a lot of action, believe in it, have some faith, and a lot of action. Like, don't compare you to anybody else. It's a competition with yourself. It's a lot of discipline, and yeah, nothing can stop you if you're motivated enough. But don't think it's easy. It's like somebody asked me like, oh, like how's the Olympic Games? How's the training? Like, how do you do that? It's like, okay, most of people say Olympic Games, it's every 4 years. But actually,
how is everything in between?
It's every day.
Every day.
Every day. You cannot like be sloppy one day because you have to train for 4 years to be ready for like one minute. 1 minute. So that's the message. It's like all the work you do in the shade, it's going to put you in the spotlight. So that's my point. It's just a mindset you have to have.
Awesome. Well, Elly, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, where can they reach you? If anyone would like to just reach out and see the possibility of perhaps training with you as well, where can they reach you?
Well, it's I opened my own company. It's called Elite Coaching.
Elite Coaching?
Yes, Elite Coaching. I'm training my clients at Evolution Fitness in Chicago. So I'm sure people can find...
So they'll just do an Instagram search, Elite Coaching, or a Facebook search?
So for Instagram, it's just my name, like Elly Lefort. And,
that's Elly, and then last name Lefort.
Absolutely, yeah. That's my name, so that's how people can reach me on Instagram. And on Google, it's like if you Google like Elite Coaching LLC, you're going to find out my company. And if you're ready, I'm ready.
There he is. All right. So thanks again, man. This has been great. I'm pumped. I want to like leave the studio and then just hit like a 300-pound bench right now. I'm pumped. But before we sign off, I want to thank our partners, Element Studio. That's EL3 MENT Studio. You can find them on Instagram at Element Studios as well, and on Facebook. Go ahead and check them out. elementstudios.com. They do amazing full-service media production, and just want to thank everyone. So, Mr. Lefort, cheers. Thanks, my man, for being on.
Thank you, John. I mean, that's an amazing thing that you've done. Like starting this podcast, I'm amazed, and like I think that's also something I find in you. It's like you're not just talking, like you're doing.
But we're doers. That's what we do.
And like right now, like we're doing it. It's like it's amazing. It's like not a project that's been talking for, like this is action. So that's what I'm talking about. Don't just talk, just do.
Do.
Absolutely.
And with that,
Thank you again. It's been a pleasure, and I will be more than happy to come back another time.
Beautiful. Well, we're gonna have you back on, and we're gonna have another nice bourbon for you. So, all right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.